What's up, everybody? This is your boy Jason coming at you one more again. Topic of the day is my experience of racing double X back in the day. I go back, way back. Uh, so, without further ado, let's get into it. So, I'll start it here. The year was 1993. The Worlds was happening over in England, and the Double S came out, was pretty much made for that track. But anyway, uh, on-road racer Joe Johnson TQ'd that off-road race, and it was like, wow, like he TQ'd over the best off-road racers at that time, and he was an on-road guy, you know. I think Scott Brown got qualified second in that race, but we all know that Ken Wall won that race. But it was just, impressive to see Joe Johnson win. Uh, so the car from not Joe Johnson win, but Joe Johnson TQ. But so the car had some buzz then. Like it was like, okay, this is legit. It's got all this technology on it, raised chassis for low CG and less drag, and I mean they really done their homework with this car. So after the Worlds, a month later after the Worlds, you had the Savannah, Georgia fall race, which everybody in the South, North, on the East Coast came to Savannah. That was like, you showed what you had in Savannah. So, anyway. So it's the 1993 fall race in Savannah, and I remember Mikey Mellon and J.R. Mitch had the double X. And I'm still running the Pro SC at the time, and everybody else is still running the Pro SC. And J.R. Mitch, I think at the time, just got the car, so he hadn't really had that much time on the car. But Mikey Mellon went to the Worlds in England, as I recall. And they both had the car in Savannah. The car looked good. They were hauling. But I noticed Mikey Mellon having a front wing. And this is back in 93. He had a rear wing, but he had it mounted on the front of the car on the shock towers. Kind of like how we do now with the little wing mounted on the shock tower. Well, anyway, he had a full-size wing mounted on the front shock tower, on the top of the front shock tower. Plus, he had his rear wing. And, people gathered along the fence to watch this car go around the track, watch JR go around the track with this car. And everybody wanted to see it in person because back then, it was magazines, and only a few select, kind of like now, only a few select can get the car. So, that just struck me as odd, like he had this wing, but man, it was decked and it was fast. Oh, him and J.R. Mitch were just killing. And then, like I said, Ken Wall won the Worlds. RC10 chassis been around for years. It looked dated. So, and Jason Rona and Brett Rels and Paul Wynn was still running that chassis at the track. So, I was immediately hooked on the double X. I was just like, I was asking JR questions, him and his dad questions, and couldn't wait. So December came, got the kit, and this was gonna be the first kit me and my dad was gonna build together. And he saw the instruction booklet, and he was just like, "All right, I'm out." It wasn't his thing. My dad was in like drag racing, so it wasn't his thing. So built the kit. It snowed in North Carolina, so tracks are frozen, and we just had outdoor tracks, and it was just like, okay, where we're gonna, run this. We're gonna go to the Winter Champs. The 1994 Winter Champs. We're gonna go to it. So built the car, ran the car in the streets in front of the house and everything, and made sure everything was adjusted. And uh, we loaded up the van and we went down to Tampa, Florida for the '94 Winter Champs. We get there, and I didn't know that the people were there like 2 days before. I didn't know that, and they were practicing and everything. So I get there the day that they say practice was. The morning practice, I think, rained out. So I get up on the driver's stand, and they give you a little practice token. I get up on the driver's stand, I practice, and it was 5 minutes, and it wasn't good. I mean, it's the first time running the car. The diff was slipping everywhere. Nothing. Pretty much I went in untested car. So I get down off the stand, and I asked like, when's the next practice, and they were just like, well, that's all you're getting. So drove 12 hours to practice 5 minutes, and at this race, the who's who is at this race. The only one that's not at this '94 Winter Champs is Brian Kenwall. The who's who. So all the people I saw in the magazines and stuff and looked up to, I got to meet them. I got to meet Pop Slosey. I got to meet Gene Hustings. Got to meet and talk to Masami. And my dad, talked to him a little bit. They knew a little bit English, but not that well. Mike Reedy Trude, one of my motors there at the race. But at the same time, I'm like kind of getting phone numbers and asking lots of guys what setup they're running, because my car was just like, the kit setup was just it was bad. I couldn't get the car to steer. The car had a major push in it. So if you had 180s in your track, you were kind of done for. Like, the car just pushed. Like, you could have the wheels turn and be on the throttle, and the car would still just go straight. But so at that race, my finish, I was in the O main, not O man, not the O main. That's where I finished. And back then, that's how far the mains. That's how many people came to these races. So packed it up, went home. We raced little races here and there with the car, but I couldn't figure out the setup. So I called the guys that were running the car down in Florida, the Losi guys that was sponsored by Losi. I called them up and was asking their setups. And man, back then, like, you had 5 different pros, and they all have 5 different setups on the car, And I didn't know enough about, ball stud positions and bump steer and shocks, and they were doing some wild stuff, like, taking rear springs, cutting 3 coils off and putting it on the front. And so I'm trying all this, drilling holes in the shock tower, extra hole in the shock tower, extra hole in the arm, and I'm just like, wow, like, I couldn't get the car to turn. So the Regions is coming up in North Carolina, in Cherryville. This is July. So my dad drove me down. It was 45 minutes to an hour from the house. So my dad drove me down like every Monday, and we practiced on a dry track, like every Monday, like nonstop, putting in the work. And I thought I had everything dialed, and but the thing with practice is, you think your car is doing one thing until you get in race and get other cars out there, and your car is not doing it. So Region came, thought I was good, got out there, and I was going backwards. I was slow. My car, spinning out, wasn't set up. I'm fighting it the whole time. We put a lot of work in that, and it wasn't good. So I'm still asking people at that race, hey, what setup are you running? Your car looked good. And people also, they give you the bogus. But anyway, uh, July heat in Cherryville, country, humid. My dad got mad, and drove off. He left me at the track. So I was like 15 or 16. I think I was 15. So, uh, you had to qualify for the national at this race. So that's why we was putting all the work in. And after all that, y'all, I didn't qualify. Like, all my friends and stuff I grew up with, they all qualified for the national. And they were like, well, Jason, you could put in for an alternate or something like that. And I was like, nah, I want to, make it straight up. That's my mentality then. But so all my friends, Adam Drake, Bubba Ryan, Jason Brown, all of them uh, made it to the national. And, my dad leave Anthony Andrews. My dad left me at Cherryville for all my stuff. And one by one, I watched everybody pack up and leave. And I'm in this country town at 15. Like, whoa. And then the guy that on the track let me use his phone. So I called my mom. Told my mom, where I'm at and all. And the guy that owned the track then, gave my mom directions to get there. And she came. And it was up a dirt road. So she came and got me. And so I put the double X up. Like, I yanked all my electronics out. Like, I was devastated. Yanked all my electronics out of it. Put it up. And just now, after all these years, pulled it out. Found it, pulled it out. It was at my mom's. But that was my my ordeal with the car. Yes, it was hesitant time, and not only that, like, I drilled holes. I try to make sure the front end would flex, and granted, like, I'm doing all the mechanic work. I'm only 15, and I'm doing all this, balancing wheels, balancing tires, and like, it was crazy. So went to work at Winn-Dixie and with a worker's permit, and saved up my money and bought the World's car, Ken Wall's World's car, and kicked butt with that until the parts and stuff wore out so easy on it. But anyway, that's my 2 cents on the Double X, my experience, what I had racing the car back in the day and getting the car. That was like I said, that was my experience. It was yeah. So knowing what I know now, for one, don't follow everybody's setup. Do your own thing, how the car feels to you. Try to accomplish that feeling and know what to do to get that feeling. And whatever you do, do not drive a crappy car. Like, if the car's crap for 5 laps or 2 laps, pull that car off and make some changes. Do not go out there and try to think your ability can compensate for a bad handling car. But yeah, know your setups and write everything down, like what changes. And I can honestly say, like, I was in a knot. I got myself in a knot with that car, but it'd be pretty interesting now to, like, rebuild it and then put what I know now in that car and see how it would feel now. But yeah. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Some of the images I use are from car action and uh, RC10 talk or something like that. But most of it's like from car action, so uh, online and whatnot. So and some of it's from Losi. But yeah, thank y'all for tuning in. If you got any questions, chime down below. And yeah, a OG right here, baby. And I'll see y'all at the track. See you soon. Thank you.